everyone hear me? I'll take that stunned silence as a yes. Look, it's great to see such fantastic turnout tonight. For those of you that don't know who I am and haven't met me before, I'm Chris, PwC. We're hosting tonight's event, and I normally work in a part of the firm called R&D Tax Incentives. Yeah. So I've had some interaction with some of you guys in the past. Before we kick off tonight, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land on which we're meeting tonight. And I would very much like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present. Look, so I think tonight is going to be great. Right, we've got a fantastic turnout, and I think that's testimony to Peter and Raf and the Techboard team who've kind of pulled this together. Right, I think it's awesome, and it's great that PwC are a part of this. We're very kind of thankful for the opportunity. So I don't want to kind of stand here blathering like the accountant at the front. So what I'll do is I'll hand over to Peter, and we'll get the next slide.
Thanks very much, Chris. Thanks to everyone for coming along. Quite surprised at the turnout. It's wonderful. So I'd like to acknowledge sponsors for tonight. First and foremost, PwC for providing the venue and the catering. But we've also got business news. Charlie's over here. Eve Investments, Ben Rohrer is hiding right at the front. And Visible, who aren't able to make it tonight. They're the sponsors of the panel session here. And Beecham Group are recording this. We're also streaming on Periscope right now. So if you want to tweet that to anyone, go right ahead. Cool. So I'm not going to talk much about Techboard. You've all seen Techboard because you're here. So I'm going to pass over to Charlie and let the conversation begin. So once the panel session is going to run through until 6:30, and then we've got the awards part of the session, the evening. So without further ado, thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Peter. Let's give Peter a round of applause. Thanks for coming along. And I was saying to Peter a few minutes ago, he started up Techboard earlier this year with Raf, and well done for doing that. It's a great new addition to the startup tech scene here in Perth. They have a series of panelists and other algorithmic measures to rank various startups every couple of weeks. And I think you're announcing, is it the 7th ranking?
Yeah, the 7th ranking.
The 7th ranking, the 7th one. As soon as we've stopped talking, you're going to announce it, right? And we've got a few awards as well, around about 6:30. But you've got a website called techboard.com.au. And then here we've got some people who've turned up. So well done for turning up. Thanks for having you. The very first event that Techboard's had. And I think we should acknowledge Raf and Peter for all the work they've done completely on their own back. I don't think you have any revenues yet, bless you. So welcome to Startup Land. Big round of applause for Raf and Peter. All right, you're not here to hear me. The talent is here, so I'm going to be throwing them a few questions. This really kicks off a week of startup tech in WA and Perth specifically. There's the Startup Weekend Reunion, I think tomorrow. There's West Tech Festival, which is fantastic. Who's going to West Tech on Monday? Down in the Perth Town Hall. That's like the seminal conference for WA Tech in Perth, this side of the world. And of course, OzApp Awards. And then on Tuesday, I think there's an Unearthed in the afternoon. There's West Tech Assemblage, which is getting all the groups together, the Government House, and there's a variety of other things going on. It's a real startup week. But today, the topic is really fairly simple. Publicity for your startup, that's it. We're just going to talk about that. So for those of you who are umming and ahhing and have various experiences, good, bad, and different, about getting publicity and promotion for your startup, we've assembled people here with a range of experiences. And let me just introduce them to you. On my left here is Russell. I've known Russell for a few years. Russell Francis from Velpic. He was the CEO of Dash Digital, which was a brand technology agency, full service agency for many years. They got together with Chameleon, you got together with Reignite.
And the original Dash Digital.
And the original Dash Digital. And they've developed a product called Velpic, which actually stands for Video E-Learning Platform in the Cloud, Velpic. And they've gone and listed it on the stock market and raised $4 million. So you've got a very interesting experience there. So we can welcome Russell to the panel. Recently Russell, you got some prize. You were like the best tech person in the world, or something like that. What'd you get?
Most disruptive CIO, CTO.
The most disruptive CIO, CTO, as judged by Richard Branson.
And Steve Wozniak.
And Steve Wozniak. What about that? What about that? All right. Becky Lee, we've known Becky for about 2 or 3 years around the startup scene with Virtualize and now with One VR. I remember Becky came to pitch the Virtualize technology to me about 2 years ago when I just started at Business News, and I was writing a little bit of stuff there, and I think you were one of my very first articles actually, and she said, well, wait a minute, let me come and show you the technology for real. And over the road, literally over the road from where we were in Newcastle Street, down Lindsay Street, she'd done a virtual, an augmented reality version of an apartment. And the story goes that she was actually looking for an apartment about 3 years ago, and she had some money saved up. But she was frustrated because she wanted to see how the apartment would look when it was finished, but in situ, right? Very demanding, Becky. So she developed the technology, which came, I think, from some gaming coders in Perth, and developed this augmented reality so that when you used the app and used your phone, Virtualize app with your phone or your iPad, over the plot of sand where the apartment was going to be, the apartment appeared before your very eyes as if by magic. It was incredible. And then you took the phone away and it disappeared. And you put the phone there and there it was. It was incredible. So, and I think I wrote the story like the next week. We were also gobsmacked. We've since followed Becky's journey for the last couple of years. This year she won Best Startup in the YTIR Awards, I think. Congratulations. I think you've won some other things as well. And you've come out with the One VR product recently with BGC Developments. Correct?
Yeah, well, One VR is a software company.
Software.
So we build all sorts of applications for anyone, focused on virtual and augmented reality, so we're still in our niche. But Virtualize is a product we're relaunching next year, which is very exciting and makes virtual reality easy for anyone to use. So
last week down at the Hyatt, we had a technology showing augmented reality Bentleys on a marker on the tables, even though we had 2 Bentleys in the room. Just knock out. And I think you're organising your own wedding as well on top of all that. You're getting married in a few weeks' time. So big welcome and congrats to the Brian Liebman. Now I've known Brian for about 15 years. He and I both did an MBA at WA. He was a couple of years after me, and then we were both very active in the Alumni Association. I was actually the vice president to him being president. And I remember at the time, about 2001, it was quite an apathetic lot, wasn't it, the GMA? And we had to kick it all up, and we got Michael Cheney on as patron, and we went from, I think, 70 members to 700 in a couple of years. So this is the sort of energy that Brian brings to the table. He worked at EY, I think, in marketing. You did a startup, you actually did a newspaper of some sort, a music newspaper in Perth?
Wax Magazine.
Wax Magazine?
It was set up to promote West Australia during the Sydney Olympics. So I think people become a traveller until September 2001 when it all went pear-shaped.
And then you were in investor relations at Cyvita, a listed company, I think based in the States, and that was a 10-year journey. And now, I mean, if anyone's missed a biotech in Perth, it's this man. He's listed 3 entities on the ASX. He's chair of Oz Biotech. Can we welcome Brian Liebman? Andrew Hagan, I got to know this year. I hadn't known you were in property development for a while. I didn't know you then, even though I've been in property, sort of dabbling on the fringes with running property portals. But Andrew came away to me. I write a little column in Business News called App Tech Business of the Week. And I think actually all of you have been in App Tech Business of the Week, except for Marcus, so we've got to get them sorted out. Even Techboard's going to be App Tech Business of the Week soon, I think. They'd created a camera, HD camera for the bicycle that basically keeps taking video from the back, and now you've developed one from the front. Is that right? So you've got what are called the Fly 6 and the Fly 12 lights. You've raised $1 million on Kickstarter for this. You've been going about 20 months. They're turning over a very nice revenue indeed, monthly revenue, and growing at an amazing pace. And they're looking to raise more money. But I think today, we're very interested to hear some of your crowdsourcing Kickstarter ideas. So I didn't explain it very well, but basically, or you explain it, just very briefly with Cyclic.
So, so our company creates a product that it's a bicycle accessory. So So it's got a video camera that's always recording on the back and the front of your bike. So in case something nasty happens, you've got it recorded. It's almost like a black box or a GoPro for a bike, but it also captures a lot of fun stuff you can have while you're riding your bike.
Well, I think the idea came when your co-founder was flicked out of a moving car by a bit of elastic or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the story is that he was riding in the hills up in Kalamunda by himself one day, and some young kids drove up next to him with a passenger leaning out the passenger window and got a slingshot and shot him right in the arse, point blank range, with a ball bearing or a marble or something like that. Laughed at him and then just drove away, and that sort of sparked the idea for having a camera on the back of a bike, because we thought, hang on, you just can't do that, right? And yet it does happen, and that was just the spark of an idea, and that was about 3.5 years ago. Now we've got products selling all over the world. We're featured in all sorts of magazines and PR, and we can talk about that later. But it's
and there's some really, really cool videos on your website, because as a byproduct, you've got some really cool action photos too.
Absolutely.
From these videos on bikes, front and back.
Yeah, if you guys want to kill an hour at lunch and have a lot of fun, just look up cycling.com and look at the videos, and there's some really crazy stuff there.
Footage of magpies.
Yeah, a lot of magpie footage, a lot of dog chases, carriages, you name it, it's there.
Now down the end there, last but not least, we have the gentleman technologist. A lot of us know Marcus Holmes, the person with the best moustache in WA, so much so prior to coming on stage here, he was waxing it with a mixture of coconut and what was it?
Beeswax and coconut.
Beeswax and coconut. It is a tremendous moustache. He is a coconut programmer par excellence. He's a tech founder many times over. And also we know him and love him from Startup News. Again, through love for the startup community, Startup News has been going for a couple of years. A little bit of revenue, not enough to keep you in the manner to which you're accustomed, but something. You've got some supporters, and I must also acknowledge the Techboard Beecham group. I know you do a great job there supporting Techboard. But really, seriously, started as a blog site. Now it's got lots of followers. I always read my Friday updates of what's happening in Startup News. I think it's fantastic. You and Techboard, I think, are doing a great job together, slightly different ways, but covers the market. So, can we welcome Marcus? If I just run down the panel, why do we need publicity? Surely, if you make a great product, the customers will spread the word. Go.
Right. Well, I used to call Velpig Perth's best kept secret, because no one knew who the hell we were. Most of the people in this room probably haven't heard of us and that sort of stuff, but it's a little bit different from us because we're a business to business. Okay, so publicity is a little bit different, but boy, in the last couple of months have we really seen the benefits of publicity. The dust that we've kicked up becoming a public company, employing a PR agency, which I would have thought 6 months ago was the biggest waste of money you would have ever heard of, but they pay for themselves in gold. So basically, I'm fairly new to PR and to getting yourself out there and being, a bit of a media whore, getting out there and banging on the doors of gentlemen like this and trying to get your story out there and that sort of stuff. This was, I'm a computer programmer, so this was a completely foreign environment to me. Us computer programmers, we always think if we build it, they will come. Well, we all know that that's not the case. Okay, so we've got to get out there, we've got to do these things. And so I'm a little bit new to it, but boy, have I seen the results of it recently. And over this time of this course, I'm sure I'll take you through some of the things that we've done. That's my sort of first take on it.
Becky, why publicity? Do you need publicity? Maybe it's best to stay under the radar, especially in Perth. We're quite isolated.
You need to talk. You need to be open. You need to let people know what you're up to, because you'll be surprised by the feedback you get. And I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years, and my product has changed, not because of what I've wanted, but from the results of feedback. And publicity is probably the most easiest way to get it out there and have the random calls call you and say, I've read this, I do this. You get these random cold calls that are just amazing and teach you about your product and how people are viewing and receiving
So it's customer feedback mainly? You've seen the benefits
That's
of publicity?
how I've been using it over the last few years. I haven't gone crazy with using it for sales, but for just doing little teasers, a little out there, even the first article you did, I got property council calling me up. I got a lot of people calling me up and just saying, I've seen this, I want to know more, and it's been really valuable.
I'm glad some people read my stuff.
Yeah.
Right, publicity. Why?
Well, I'm going to differ with you on your first comment about if you build it, they will come. I've always believed in that. If you build it, they will come. but it comes down to a kernel of an idea. The actual business has to be a real corker of an idea, I think, to get up. And the publicity comes from having a good idea and then giving the opportunity for people to invest in it. I've always believed in public markets to raise capital because one thing that Charlie and I were taught in our MBA is that it's very easy to get into a company. It's not so easy to get the money out again. And private businesses don't provide that opportunity to take the money out. So you need to provide a public company opportunity to invest and then give investors the opportunity to get out again. And, I've listed 3 companies in 3 years, and the third business being Resac Health. And when I vended that into a shell at a then value of $2.5 million, we raised $4 million in a short period of time, and I think as of today it's capped at about $50 million. And we only listed in July. So it all came down to a really good idea, and I'd like to give the opportunity to talk about later. But the publicity came, and so far we've been featured in all the major newspapers around Australia, and Channel 7 have done 2 stories on it. I'm the publicity guy, I guess, and founder of the company, but it hasn't been difficult. It's been very easy because it is a public company. And that means that people have the opportunity to get in, get out as they wish. Frankly, I don't care. The volume that comes with the daily trading volume attracts even bigger investors, because the bigger fish, like the fund managers, they want to be able to, they might like the idea, but if there's no volume, they're not going to invest, because they're going to be thinking, how the hell am I going to get out of this liquid stock? But if there's big volume going on, then they can get in, they can get out. That's an opportunity.
Okay, thanks. Andrew, private company, you kick-started, crowdsourced your money.
Yep. And
publicity? Do you need publicity?
Critical, absolutely critical, particularly for us where we've got a new product. It's not like we're creating a new bicycle wheel that can just go in the bicycle wheel market. People don't know to look naturally for a light and a camera in one unit because it's never been invented before, and that's why PR is critical. But I think to go to your point, we've got an excellent product, and as a result we get heaps of publicity. We've, to do a bit of upmanship here, we've been published in every sort of magazine, newspaper across the world, New York Times, you name it. We've been in Wired magazine. If you look across our PR, we've been everywhere. That doesn't always bring people running to the store and buying our product. There's a lot more to sales than just that. But without having PR, it's very hard for people to know about your product, and I think it's absolutely critical. Getting to your point on Kickstarter, sure, we've raised nearly $1 million, 970 grand or something. The benefit from Kickstarter was probably about $5 million of traditional PR and advertising, and that's the value of Kickstarter, much more than the cash that you get.
Okay,
so
maybe we'll come back to that. That's interesting. Okay, and there's been some announcements today about crowdfunding from the federal government, which we might get back to as well. Marcus, publicity. Now you're there doing some publicity, and you're finding stories, you're writing stories, so you can answer this either way, from a tech you've been part of, or the fact that you're very much part of that publicity machine. But what's your thoughts on the need for publicity as a startup?
Yes, but we find that people keep sending me press releases where they're talking to their customer base, and Startup News has a fairly limited audience of other startups. So it's also a matter of targeting your publicity, making sure you're getting through to the right people. So don't send me press releases where you want 1 million people to come and look at your product, which is suitable for the general public, because I don't have that audience. You want something like West Australia, possibly Disney, who have a wider audience and more general purpose audience. I think the value for any startup in publicity is just that your biggest problem is always obscurity. It's always like there are 1 million people out there building stuff. There's 5 people right this minute working on every single idea that you're working on right now. You have to beat them, and the best way of beating them is by being out there, by being public. We've seen from Startup Weekend time and time again. The best teams, the ones that really win, the ones that get the most customer feedback, the most traction, the most results, the most validation, they're the ones who really tackle the whole publicity question really well. The star being Cam's work on Texty, where we had from something that was just an idea on Friday night, it was up doing Cosmo on Monday, which is quite pretty good. But that generated huge amounts of traffic, which generated huge amounts of validation, and it was really easy to then see how that business was going to go, because they had this huge engagement with the audience. If you've got no engagement with your customer base, have no idea whether what you're doing is going to work.
Okay, thanks for that. So there are reasons for why we need publicity. There are probably some reasons why you don't want publicity as well. But let's talk about free publicity, because we're really talking about early stage tech startups here. You've got no money at all. You've got no money to pay yourself. You've got no revenue. So where do you start? You can't employ a PR person unless they're going to take shares. You might not want that, but you might. So anyone got some good ideas right at the beginning? Free publicity.
Find a PR agent that believes in your product, and yes, you can get them to do stuff for free.
Did you do that?
I did.
Okay, can you explain how that
But
worked?
they pretty soon start asking for money though. So. But it was enough to get us going. So our PR agent is a very keen cyclist, a Masters champion in America, and he's based in Napa Valley, just north of San Francisco. And he has raced with all of the big names in cycling. So we thought he'd be a great fit for us, but what we didn't really know is that he wanted us as a great fit for him and his business. So as a result, we got to leverage his connections, his experience, and he did a whole bunch of PR for us for nothing prior to...
Didn't give him shares? Didn't give him... No. You gave him some product?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Product is our
Product.
currency.
Yeah.
We have to give product to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that we do to get PR is we send them a free unit.
Right.
Because we believe in our product. They use it.
When
They
you
like
say
it.
them, you mean influential bloggers, what?
You name it.
Journalists?
Best example is I was at the Tour de France last year in Yorkshire. I managed to secure a contact by a guy called Matt Keenan. I don't know if you guys are into cycling, but he's a famous Australian journalist and cyclist. He managed to get us a media pass to the Tour de France. So we're in the back of the Tour de France where all of the media are. So of course we go and hang into the same booth as Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin, and we're lifting the curtain, watching them talk. As soon as they're finished, we got to meet them, go to products, and now Phil Liggett's one of our biggest fans, tweets about our products, loves it, didn't cost us a cracker.
3 kernels of ideas for free publicity in the startup band early days?
I did a lot of it myself. I've got marketing.
We got no microphones, so you might have to sort of project a bit over there.
Quiet. I'll try to speak
100 people in the room.
But posting...
The first way to get publicity is to have a loud voice, Pat.
Yeah, I know. I'm online, so I'm thinking, hey. Yeah, so I did a lot of it myself, writing to... I've done PR for various not-for-profits, so just writing to newspapers, magazines, and
Oh, look,
just
Apple's
asking,
arrived.
thank you, for them to feature our product and talk about it. We're in the Australian New Zealand Property Journal across Australia this month, so that's been great. But it's really just been knocking on doors, asking, creating a list of people I can approach when I do have something to talk about. But there is also another site that I found whilst I was doing my research called Source Bottle, and basically every couple of weeks they send you a list of topics that magazines and newspapers are wanting to write about, and if it's related to your industry, you can say, they can talk to me as a quote. So that has been one little insight that I found.
SOURCE, I
Yeah,
presume, not
source,
SAU,
yeah.
right? Source bottle.
Bottle,
Okay.
yeah. So it's just basically finding people for magazines to reference and quote from.
Russell?
So you mentioned we won that award. Okay, that didn't cost us a razoo.
You won that award.
Well, yes. And
Mr.
basically,
Disruptor.
Exactly. So get yourself out there, have a look around for those. You know, there's awards for everything these days, and you can pick and choose, have a look into it. We've probably got some this evening. But yeah, so no, and that, like I said, that wasn't through our PR company or anything like that. Basically, we build videos. That's our day job at Velpic, video e-learning. And one of the ways that I could enter in this particular competition was as a video submission. So I thought, voila, there we go. So about 30-40 minutes of my time sitting there putting together a quick video in our platform, uploaded that to YouTube, sent them the URL, and obviously that stirred up so much publicity for us. We were in the Australian, we're in a lot of startup magazines. We got reblogged into and republished, syndicated into Business Review Weekly and all that sort of stuff. And that was purely just 45 minutes to an hour of time to sort of consolidate our idea, get it very concisely written down, which you should be able to do anyway, and put that in and submit it into that particular award. So that was.
Do you want to jump in?
It was
Mark,
just
it's about gaining free publicity. Got no money start, no revenue.
I just
How do you get the word out?
to kind of come in on Becky's point about getting the source, getting the stories that your publication wants to write. Like we get spammed with press releases that have got nothing to do with Perth startups, and it's really obvious that startup news is about Perth startups. There's something called, I think, submit.co, which is a public list of publications anywhere around the startup scene that if you send them a press release aimed at their target, aimed at the things they're interested in writing about, your chances of actually getting published are huge. Especially if you actually write them a nice letter themselves. Like you actually just say, hey, Matt, I understand you're writing, or hey, Marcus in this case, I understand you write stories about Perth startups. I've got this, would you be interested? And I mean, I'll always respond to that. I'll always say yes or no if it's addressed to me personally. If it's just a complete, I've written this and lob it off in the mail.
I can cut in there. You must, so you receive a lot of possible stories every week. You do about 3 to 5 a week?
Yeah.
So how do you choose?
Is it relevant to my audience? Is it something?
And the audience is other Perth startups.
Yeah. So do Perth startups want to understand about this? Right. So, and that's my only criteria.
So I presume you'd have a mixture of WA startup stories, but also the life of being a startup guy.
Absolutely. Preferably with the startup
weekend.
I mean, there's things like Hacker News that cover generally startup stuff in general. So I wouldn't really want to compete with that. It's much more. It's got to have a Perth angle as well. But that's it. That's my audience, and every single publication out there has an audience and an angle and a thing they prefer to take. And it's really about getting to know that and getting to know somebody on there who you can talk to and say, hey, I understand you're interested in this kind of story. I've got that kind of story. Do you want to publish it? And get that. Try and create that personal relationship. I mean, it's all
but what's the point? I could ask the panel, anyone jump in. What's the point of having these stories? Does it really help your business? Does it help get the revenue? Does it help get clients? It might make you feel good. Does it actually help?
100%. You know, basically, as I said, we're relatively new at Velpic to PR. Before we did it, my business partner Glenn's just sitting there. It was his job to go down and kick down doors and tell people about Velpic. Now with PR, his phone rings. That never happened before. So this is, you just basically, it gets you on a curve that you just can't achieve by traditional means. So it's a no-brainer.
But does it open doors to revenue and clients, staff? Yes?
Over time it does. Certainly for our product, we've obviously got a physical hardware product, so we find that people need to sort of hear about it or see it 3 or 4 or sometimes even 5 times before they'll go, oh wow, look at that, as if they've never seen it before. But they actually have seen it, because if you're a cyclist, you have seen our product. You might not even know about it, but you've seen it because we have such good PR and press coverage. So it's very important to just keep out there. I think.
Okay, so we've got press coverage, we've got awards. No one's mentioned social media yet.
Well, that's just, I think it goes without saying. I mean, I don't advertise, I don't do any paid advertising. I refuse to advertise in magazines or newspapers. They're so ineffective. Sure, you might get lots of hits, you might get an increase sort of to your website.
Ooh, yeah. Taxi, Brody.
But unless it gets the cash register ringing, it's almost pointless.
Clear the glass from you.
Yeah. So as I said, if it's not getting the cash register ringing, as in making sales, then the PR's, it's good to keep it churning out there so that it eventually hits someone and make a sale.
I was thinking it's your point before about educating, because it is a new product, and that's the great thing. It's not a flyer saying buy my product, it's a story, it's addressing a problem. When you're writing an article, it's addressing a solution and speaking to an audience in an industry you want to go to. So that's why I find it's a better approach to getting those leads and those calls than just doing cold advertising.
The social media, is it Facebook, is it Twitter, is it Instagram? What works? Do you track it through? Analytics? Or you just sort of blast away and go, well, that's good, we've got lots of traffic?
We do track it, but not as well as we could. And that's largely due to just the lack of human resources we have in our business. But we are starting to ramp that up significantly. But we, because of the nature of our business, we're across all social media platforms. Vine. I mean, who uses Vine here? Who watches it? One person. And yet we have to be there because it's a part of the whole video culture. So yeah, but
Can you explain Vine, as there's only one user in the room?
Vine, I guess, is a bit like YouTube, but they only have a very short video maximum length. It's like 6 seconds. So it's a quick video and then you're on to the next video. So it's just a really quick churn video system. So any cool or crazy videos we get, we put it on YouTube, on Vimeo, on, you know, you name it. It goes across all of our platforms, it goes across all of the video platforms, and we blast it out there. So Twitter, you know, Facebook, Pinterest.
How do you measure if it's working? How do you know what's working?
Well, as I said, if we have more resources, we basically have different landing pages, and you'd have different messages going out in different places and brings them back to your different landing pages. That way you can track where your actual return on investment comes from. Because if you do a tweet on Twitter and you have a URL that goes to a specific site, you can see how many people come back to that site, and you can see how effective it is, and then you can track those people to a sale, and you can see what sort of conversion rate you're getting. And then you can start refining it, making better ones, having better conversion rates. So it's social media is, I can't imagine any business today that is not going to use social media as their marketing platform.
Social media back?
Yep.
Which bits do you use and what's worked for you over the journey of the last 2 or 3 years?
Actually, probably what's coming to mind is actually talking to the property industry and the way they market, because we want to put analytics and obviously behind products we share, because people do want to know what people are looking at, how long they're looking at it, and track that data. But a lot of the feedback from the property marketing industry was they weren't so worried about if they got a sale, but they were more happy to just have impressions. And if you could prove that your application or the process was just getting viewed, they know it's a big part of the ecosystem of advertising. It's not just about, I had one ad up here and it created a sale. It's about being in that market and people being able to see your product over and over again, which I found was quite interesting. And they were just like, you could just get us impressions. We are happy and we see that as a positive result.
Yep.
We're on social platforms, not as much as I'd love to be because they do take time. And there's a platform called Hootsuite where you can manage it all under one platform and spam everything out at the same time, and then you can schedule it. So I did actually suggest that with Techboard because I do everything on that front end within the business, but I like to send my posts out and different things ahead of time. If I know there's a launch, I like to pre-write it and make sure it's all there when it needs to be. And think ahead.
Is there a hashtag tonight, Peter? What are we using? Hashtag Techboard or what?
No, I haven't.
You guys are taking pictures of you and tweeting right now, right? All the great stuff you're hearing? No?
Miles is tweet startup, Perth Startup, pick it up as well. So hashtag Perth Startups or just Techboard.
At Techboard, is that your
at Techboard
AU?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just make a point to what you're talking about there? Your customers are a business, right? So you're a business-to-business business. I have business-to-business relationships, but most of my customers is B2C. So for me, if someone comes to me and says, I want to do some marketing or advertising for your business, I would, if they say, we'll increase your click-through rate, I'll say, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'll only get them engaged if they say, or I work it so that you can make sales. So if you're going to be effective, I want to have sales, and I'm not going to pay you until you make sales. So I do all of my contracts based on success.
So cost per acquisition is your payment?
Yep, absolutely. Because if someone comes and says, I'm going to do all this stuff for you, do all this marketing for us, it's fantastic. Make the cash register ring and I'll pay you. And that tends to piss everyone off very quickly, and you're left with one or two people who are prepared to and believe in what they do.
Yep.
I find that pretty effective.
And it aligns their goals with yours.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And it would depend on the product though, because your product's small, your margin's small. But if you've got an apartment or a house and all that, it's a different stage, and that user will take a lot longer before they're like, okay, I'll buy that. For your user might be like, that's cool, So it is also all dependent on the market and different processes.
Brian, does biotech and social media go together? Is there much use for social media? I mean, biotech's a different type of product. Long time to come to market sometimes.
Well, typically, Charlie, we don't have a product to sell. We've got an idea that requires lots of money to come to fruition in many years. Not necessarily in the case of my latest venture, which is much shorter because it's digital healthcare, but in terms of social media, I don't use any social media. I am interested in Techboard, and ResApps appeared on Techboard and appeared at number one, I think, a number of weeks. And, there's also another thing called Hot Copper. Does anyone here watch Hot Copper? Any hands? Not many investors in the room.
I'm not going to say I'll Hot Copper.
Well, I think Hot Copper is fascinating. It's basically just a chat board for publicly listed companies. It doesn't matter what sector it is. And what I find intriguing is that ResApp's only been listed since July, and now I think it's the top 5 most chatted about company on the Australian Stock Exchange. There's literally like hundreds of thousands of people following this stock, and I love to read them. I never ever actually comment on anything. My hashtag though is Mr. Biotech. So. Of course, if you ever see anything like that, somehow I got dubbed with that name. Somehow. But I like to read it just to see what people are writing about my company, and some of them are really on the mark, and some of them are completely off the planet. But you see the ones that are really bullish, and those are up. But it's amazing the effect that it has, because they're mostly retail investors, and they're mum and dad's basically punting on a stock that they believe in and they love. But I'll just say finally on the subject that my attitude is a lot different to my colleagues up here on the stage. My attitude to all publicity and work in general is work smart, not hard. And we're talking about startups here, so how do you get your company listed? Well, my attitude is don't be greedy. I've always believed you do whatever deal you have to do, but you get it done. And when you've got an idea, and a lot of people are really self-conscious about their idea, and they think it's worth millions of dollars, and then they get people telling them, "Oh, that's a wonderful idea," and then they think, "Oh, my idea's worth even more money than I thought it was." And so you end up with this founder syndrome where they end up thinking that their thing's so valuable that they don't want to give much away. That's not my attitude. My attitude is give away as much as you need to do with the right people, so long as you get it up. Because there's nothing worse in a public company. I'm just saying, because I've listed 4 actually companies I've listed now. The first one wasn't so good. The last 3 have been excellent. But if you don't get it up the first time that you put it up, so you've got a prospectus, it might be a backdoor listing or an IPO. I've done both. And I've got them all up the first time round, but I've seen others that don't get up the first time round, and it is an absolute clusterfuck when you don't get it up.
Language, Mr. Lee.
Sorry.
Cut that out.
If you don't get it up the first time, it's amazing what happens. People who don't know that the vendor was just super greedy and the deal was too expensive, and that's the reason why it didn't get up. But the general perception is that it didn't get up because there's something wrong with the technology or the business or whatever it is that you're wanting to float. Because they don't know that there was just a greedy bunch of founders there and couldn't come to terms with the people who are actually putting the money in and said, well, you say it's worth $4 million, I think it's only worth $1.5 million, and then the deal doesn't get up, and people go, well, gee, that deal didn't get up. And the end result is that people assume that there's something wrong with the technology, but there's nothing wrong with the technology, it's just greed that didn't get it up. And then to get it up the next time round, I can tell you almost always end up doing it for that $1.5 million. And I say, why not let the investors have the same upside that you've got? If you think it's worth so much money, why don't you let it get up with and let the investors make money with you? Why do you have to make so much money on the first day that you list? And that's my attitude, and I see so many people that I deal with who come to me with ideas, and I think, that's a good idea, but what do you want for it? Oh, I think it's not going to fly. And then they get really shitty and they don't want to deal with me. And I said, well, that's fine. And I've seen a number of times where they just don't get up and then they get smelly real fast. They really do. And I'm usually the one white-anting in the background. They do get smelly. So the publicity comes from getting things up. Because once you're up and running and it's a good idea, it's amazing the publicity that just comes to you. And you just take it. It's amazing.
Do the deal. Yeah. That was great. That was a question about social media. I've got only one more question, and then we've got about 10 more minutes. So could you guys think of some questions to ask? Otherwise, when I ask for a question, there's going to be this deadly, embarrassing emptiness, and all you can hear is a baby crying in the background. So can you think of a few questions? And I got my last one, that's about blogging. So we haven't mentioned blogging. I used to tell my clients it's pretty cool to blog, you know, it's like catnip for Google. And you can put out a thing on WordPress and within a few hours, the title, just put in the title of your blog post, it's the #1 result on Google. I used to think it was rather cool, and you could, there are all sorts of results. I've played around with it now for a few years. Any of you have a blog? If you've got any experience with it, pro and against? You're sort of nodding. I know you have a blog. Yeah, I'll get to you in a second. Startup News, one big blog, but Russell.
We're about to launch into that sphere.
Right.
So, for those who don't know, Leanne Graham, who's one of the founders of Xero, came onto our board because I was seeking someone who absolutely knew and could kill the SaaS market and help us grow from enterprise sales and get out there into the SaaS world. And she's basically been with us for the last couple of weeks here in WA, and just going through an entire regime of this is how we turned Xero into a $2 billion plus business. And and what she loves about us is that we're great at enterprise sales. I don't need a blog for enterprise sales. You know, as I said, Glenn goes out there and kicks down the door and we talk to them and they love our product and voila, tick. The next thing, but, is obviously we're expanding out into new channels, and one of those big channels is the SME market. So even though I say we're a business-to-business market, the SME market is very much like a B2C type of arrangement where we do need to be known about, we do need to get out there and talk about stuff. And for us, it's, you know, we are experts at what we do, and blogging is a way for us to basically represent our authority, you know, to get out there and tell the people, this is how you need to educate people online now, which is what we do. You know, go out there, this is why video is the best way to educate someone online. Those sorts of authority type. I'm not trying to sell you Velpic, but I am trying to go off and write a very meaningful piece to you that you'll have value out of. But obviously at the end of the day, the hook in there is that, you know, if you believe that and you think that we're right, then this is a product that will help you out. And so blogging is about to become something very part of our channel.
And when you do the blog yourself, you've got this...
It's not just blogging too, it's webinars and you know, white papers, it all sort of ties in. So you pick a topic, you go out there, you blog about it, you do a webinar about it, you do a canned webinar about it, and you go through that process. So yeah, some of them will be stuff that I present, others we will get in authority, you know, so we'll go off and find, you know, someone like John Burson, who is, you know, one of the sort of the global authorities on online email, that sort of stuff. We'll get other people. Guest bloggers and that sort of stuff, definitely. Yeah.
Beck, we did say
yeah.
Blogging? You blogging away?
Especially, once again, I'll do a little more, but it's content marketing, so that's what I've been terming it as, and it's just making sure you're the industry lead and you're writing information about for your target market so they can find you online. One thing I've learned about it is it's a slow process, but if you keep sticking at it, it really, really works. So a lot of people who go, in my background is websites, you know, they go, I'm going to launch it, everyone's going to know about me overnight. I'm like, no, you're going to have to actually keep working it, because you've got a store where nobody's walking past, and content marketing, blogging and all that does create those draw cards online for you to be able to market and promote.
I don't have a blog. I don't even know what one is really. We have a website, and I'm pretty proud of it. I think it's a good website.
Who's we in this case? That's ResApp, or?
Well, the company, the co-founder, the managing director, and myself.
Yeah.
Two of us, but I don't use a blog. I don't know.
From your chair of Biotech WA, would you want to blog about the industry, for example, how you see it from your position?
I guess I'm just old school, Charlie. When we did our MBAs together, I didn't even know how to use the internet. And I think it was just started back then, so I had an email. That was my first time I ever had an email account. That's when we started that, and even that took me a while. So I tend to just I don't know, maybe I'm lucky. I get to present at a number of events, and I host a number of events, particularly towards biotech, and I get up there and say my spiel on whatever I feel like. And some people listen to me and some people don't, but I keep getting up there and saying what I want. So that tends to be the way that I tend to publicise.
That's your mouthpiece, yeah, right.
Yes, we use blogs, critical part of our business. We try to curate a lot of blogs from people who use our products, and they seem to be the most powerful ones, because people use this if they've had an accident, they can give it to the police, and they catch the hit and run driver. You know, it saved their day, it's paid for their medical bills, gave them new bikes, you know, all sorts of really just real heartfelt, genuine stories, and that sort of tells people why they should buy our products, you know. And sure, we have a blog every month ourselves. One of our staff members talks about something that they're doing, all about using our products, but the ones that really work well for us are the genuine ones that people send in to us and say, this is what happened to me. And I always say, dude, come and give us a blog and you can go up, and we always give them a free product for it as well.
Awesome.
Very powerful.
Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing blogging used as a tool for SEO quite a lot, but they're pretty much, they're like write-only blogs. A lot of people are outsourcing them, and until they get some copywriters to go and write them, and they've got all the correct SEO words in, so they sit on your website, nobody ever reads them. The stuff that actually gets the attention is, as you were saying, it's the authentic stuff, the real stories, the stuff that the people really want to read. And that's the sort of thing that gets picked up, and suddenly it's gone viral, and you've got 5 other things reposting it, and it's hitting them attacking news or something like that, and suddenly you've got a shed load of traffic for something that cost you nothing, or next to nothing to actually just create a blog. And Becky's point about it's a long-term thing. This is not something that you can chuck up 5 content pages and bish bash bosh, suddenly you're number 1 on SEO. You've got to keep at it. It's a 2-year process to get an established presence on the web. So yeah, keep at it.
Okay, thank you very much, panel. Time for you to think of some questions. We have a question from Ben and also from Rap. So Ben, who is part of PwC, is our host today. So thanks, Ben. Do you want to come forward and see gorgeous face and hear you?
Charlie, that there are no crying babies at PwC.
Good, I'm very glad to hear that.
So, not filling them with more as long as I have to.
You can ask it to a particular person or the whole panel, or go.
Questions for the whole group. If you were beginning your startup journey again from scratch, what would you do differently? What's the biggest lesson?
We're probably
you'd
going
like
to have
tell?
time for 5 answers. So if you're going to do your startup journey again, what would you do different? Who wants to jump in? Maybe have a couple of responses. Who's looking eager?
I actually,
Beck's looking, okay.
I had a conversation with Rick Baker when I was the other week, and
You just dropped a name there, Rick Baker. So
Yeah.
who's Rick Baker, please?
Blackbird Investments. So I've
Who
been,
is?
well, they're a pretty high up investment company. He's been
You're
giving
talking
me,
to Blackbird. Yeah, have we matched that in?
no, don't announce it, but he's really good. Not yet, not yet. Brody was teasing me about this the other day, about mentioning things that I haven't announced. But no, he's always been giving me tips and advice, and you know what is really attractive to that style of investment. But one of them he did point out is you've got to get on that content marketing, and you've got to get people hearing about what you do and everything about you now. Don't worry that your product's not out there. And I just went, I can't believe I haven't been doing this more over the last 3 years. Like I would have had a following with all that I know in my head by just doing that, no matter what product stage I was at.
Right.
And that's one thing I thought, I kind of wish I'd already, you know, been on that.
Do you know your cloud score?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in? What would you have done different? I could talk for hours on that, but no one. Pleased to hear.
Yeah, me too,
I would have done different.
but we're talking about my business here, so that's pretty easy to discuss. But I actually don't think I could have done anything different, because all of the money we make, we spend, and we put it back into the business. And I think the only way we could have done something different is if we had more money. And then if we had more money, well, you know, you could do a whole bunch of things a lot different. But I think if I did have more money, I would probably apply it to more social media.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. Thanks, Ben. Ralph?
Yeah, Charlie, we talked about PR and social media and blogging. What about the value of these types of panel sessions? So what's the value of participating in a panel session in terms of raising a profile? Is that something you'd recommend?
I'll let you know once the start tweeting about it.
Might not be enjoying it at the moment.
Yeah.
Over the red line.
This is probably about my 2nd or 3rd one, and because they get video, that's the thing. So you guys will give us feedback and you'll talk to us real time and all that sort of stuff. But it's amazing that in 2-3 months' time I'll be presenting in Melbourne to a bunch of brokers or something like that, and I'll go, oh, yeah, I watched you on YouTube doing this. You think, oh God, what was that? You know, and you remember back. So that sort of stuff does help out. But meeting all you guys today, there's lots of familiar faces in here from other sessions and that sort of stuff, and then there's a lot of new ones as well. So I think actually just getting to get out there and meet the community is great as well.
Brian, you do a lot of this sort of stuff, so it's basically how you market the industry and your companies, isn't it? Getting up and talking.
I don't know, I think I'm just taking, I take more of an interest in helping people not make silly mistakes. I guess in experiencing how people who had some success in doing the right thing, and you know, I don't expect the share price of my 3 companies to go up tomorrow to do this presentation. That's something I don't really care, frankly. But I do like passing on some of the experience that I've had, and I remember you asked earlier about something that you might regret. I don't think I have any regrets. I think I've just been plain lucky, frankly. And maybe you create your own luck. But I will say something, I've always had lots of ideas. I don't know if people in the room get ideas all the time, and you wake up and you won't even dream about them, and you wake up in the morning and you go, what the hell was that thing I was thinking of? Or maybe you do remember it, but to actually do something about it, to actually take an idea and think, I'm going to do something about it this time. And I think I've had so many great ideas over the years, and I would think 95% of them I've completely forgotten about. I don't have a clue what they were, but I thought they were bloody good at the time. And I do remember with my first biotech company, Optical Medical, it was an idea that I had to spin out this asset from a company that I was working for, that clearly they didn't want that asset anymore, and I thought it was brilliant. And it was an oncology product. And to think that company now has a market cap of about $120 million. And it stemmed from an idea that I had waking up one morning and thinking, I'm going to do something about that. Now it's a public company, and I'm a significant shareholder in it. I don't actually play any role in the company's ongoing operations. But it did start with that idea, and I thought, I'm actually going to do something about that. And I'm very glad that I did. But that's how it all started for me. It was just acting on this feeling that I should do something about this. God knows how many ideas that I've had that have just gone away, but this time I actually did it, and then I've had a couple more since then, and I've acted on them as well, and it's been a good journey so far.
Great, we had a few more hands up. There was a hand, a few there. Yes, sir. Can you just say your name and...
Yeah, Justin, I actually work with Velpe.
You work with Velpe?
Yeah, that's not
That'd be a good question.
So, I guess in the startup world, is there such a thing as bad publicity? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Go for it, Mark.
Have you heard of the Streisand effect? Yeah, it's a well-known thing. Basically, people trying to shut things down. The bad publicity almost always comes from people trying to stop other people from saying something. And it's just terrible. It's brand poison. It can completely kill in whole reputations and everything. So, yeah, if you make a mistake in the public eye, don't, whatever you do, try and shut it down. Just whoa, yeah, I made a mistake. Oh, bad. Make some recommendations, apologise, do whatever. Yeah, the Streisand effect is the real example.
As in Barbara Streisand, you can Google that, the Streisand effect.
Absolutely.
Okay, she tried to shut down photos of her house that were accidentally photographed on PhD research or something.
Yeah. And it's something that, the best way of getting something viral is to try and stop it.
Okay, so some short, snappy questions. We had a few hands, yes.
Amy from Execute Set. Just a bit of a question in regards to, so we've heard a lot of positive things, what to do and all that kind of stuff. Is there any one short, quick piece of advice you can give around publicity, content management, social, that you don't waste your time on? We've tried it, hasn't worked. One thing not to do.
Advertising in print material.
Oh. You resemble that.
Sorry, Charlie.
Last time I'm writing about cycling.
I would say it's
We're not even there, surely.
I would say it's dependent on your market. So there's some things you shouldn't do, like B2B, B2C, all this sort of stuff. You can waste your time on social media, and if you're not a consumer product, just like LinkedIn might be better. So it's just, I guess what not to do is not know your market,
And just one thing too, it wasn't bad. What we did wasn't bad, we just weren't ready for it. Okay, so we had to make sure our product was ready on the other end to accept what was happening by the community, what they were driving and trying to do. So, and by the way, Amy's with, it's Leanne Graham's offsider, so she's here from New Zealand helping us out this week. So if you're a SaaS-based business, you need to get her business card.
Yeah, David Bush from Bad University. Question for you, Andrew. Which sort of startups do you think suit crowdfunding?
Well, that is like a 2-hour session.
Right,
You
okay.
charge about $500, but it's worth like millions of bucks. Right? But the short answer is there's some basic tenets to a crowdfunding platform, and you need to really understand it from go to woe. The crowdfunding system ours lasted for 30 days, and they can last for 60 days as well. And yeah, we made nearly $1 million in 60 days, and we didn't give away any equity in our business. And that sounds fantastic, right? The reality is that each one of those took 6 months to prepare, and both campaigns are still live now. But even though we've got our money, some of them we've delivered products to and stuff, but even those, the effort and the process goes on for a long, long time, and those customers are always engaging with you forever. So you've got to think about, if you want to do that, you've got to own this time, and you've got to know it goes for a long way. But one of the little quick tips I give to people, because people often come to us and say, oh, I've got this idea for this, and I want to do a Kickstarter, can you give me a few tips? The first thing I ask them is, how big is the product that they're selling? Because generally they're hardware products, like a physical product. And people have come up to me and said, it's like about this big and it weighs about 4 kilograms, everyone's going to love it. And sure, it's a great product, but it's never going to work on Kickstarter because you've got to ship this little thing all over the world. And your shipping costs can actually kill your whole campaign. You can get all your money, you can be very successful, but if you don't get your shipping right, you can actually lose all your money. And there's been a number of Kickstarter campaigns that have just folded because they didn't realise the real cost of shipping stuff around the world. So that's one of about 12 basic things that I tell people about Kickstarter.
We have one last question, and then Peter is making a slow movement in this direction, so he wants me to stop. Last question, and then these guys are going to be around, there's going to be more networking, carry on the questions. So thank you very much for your questions. Last question.
Thanks, Charlie. My name's Nick. I run a marketing consultancy. Thank you for covering some of the tactical opportunities that marketing provides startup businesses. One of the things that I'm really keen to understand is how important the culture of the organisation plays in the publicity of the product or service that you deliver. So how do you use the culture of the organisation to build the business?
Big question. Who wants that one? The last one.
I can answer that pretty quickly because we've spoken about it a bit before. Blogging is a great way for our personality to go out into the world. So people can actually read our blogs and see they're from us staff members about stuff that we're doing, and people can see our passion for what we're doing, and that's one way for the culture of our company to actually get put out in the world. And that makes someone who does a search for our product, if they find a blog, they can see that we're actually genuinely keen about what we're making, and we're keen about trying to save lives on the road. And I think when people see that genuineness, they want to support us. I don't know how that works when we come like GoPro and you're just a big brand name, everyone knows you for a name, but certainly at this early stage in our business, I think it's really important, blogging.
Great, thanks for your questions. Can we all thank the panel very much?
And also our MC, Charlie. Thank you very much, and if you don't want to sit at the front, I have some thank you gifts, but I'll distribute those at the end. Behind that, we've actually, our numbers man, Raph at the back, is largely responsible for putting this excellent map together. And we've got some printed versions that people can take with them. They're over in the back corner over there. And if you'd like to talk a little bit about that, maybe you can as well. I'm going to hand over to Raph to talk a little bit about the awards, and then we've got a few people to actually present them. So do you want to head up here? Cool.
Yeah, so as Peter mentioned, we've got a few awards tonight. I think one of the panelists said there's an award for anything nowadays. We certainly reflected on how there are a lot of awards in the startup and tech company space for companies and entrepreneurs who are sort of pursuing their own goals in building their companies, and that's fantastic. But there's not much in the space of acknowledging individuals who support the ecosystem as a whole. And that's why tonight we've got the Startup Community Award, and that's the first one we're going to present. Later on, we've got 2 additional awards. One will be our Startup Award, and one will be our Listed Company Award. And they're basically off the back of our Techboard startup ranking that we do every fortnight. I might just spend a few minutes just talking about the ranking now. Or?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Just a quick show of hands out of interest. Who's seen the startup ranking? Cool. That's good. It's been going about 6 months, I think. It's, as I said, it's a fortnightly exercise. We're not trying to sort of say this is the best startup or this is a better startup than this one. It's we're trying to capture trending startups. So it's very much. Oh yeah. This is an interesting one. I bought this T-shirt off. It was on Product Hunt. Who here has heard of Product Hunt? It's worth checking out. It's fantastic. It's obviously US based. It's a fantastic way of launching products. And I've been on it. I'm on there every couple of days, and I probably bought half a dozen products just off the back of it being listed there. So it's a fantastic way to launch products, and in particular reaching the US market. But that's not what we're talking about. So the startup ranking is we capture a bunch of metrics, and those metrics sort of try to capture things like mind share. So sort of who's being featured in the press, who's achieving a lot of engagement on social media. We have a panel of experts as well, so that's about 15 individuals, a number of which are here tonight, and we'll thank them later. And they sort of nominate startups that they've come across that are achieving something great. Sometimes we've been talking about publicity and marketing, but sometimes startups aren't very good at doing that. And having a panel of experts to sort of capture those startups that kind of slip under the radar is a good way of trying to raise their profile as well. So all of these metrics we capture, we crunch those numbers together, and it gives us a score for startups. And we then publish a top 100 startup ranking, which you can see on techboard.com.au. And essentially the awards for tonight will be off the back of those historical rankings from 2015, which admittedly is only sort of 4 months worth, but it's a pretty good indication of who's been achieving goals over the last few months. So shall I hand over to...
Well, yes, so the first award we're going to be doing is the Startup Community Award, which...
There's a late amendment to that one. I've checked the rules, and no nominees who've broken a wine glass tonight can win, so we've got to take at least one of those off.
One of them has popped off the screen as well, which I missed when I headed across. There is another nominee on that list, Greg Reeby, who's also here in the room. So our panel of experts came up with their top 3 people who they thought had made a great contribution to the Western Australian startup community. And from that, we got down to a short list, which were basically all of the people that had been voted for that had got multiple votes. And so we then put that out to you guys. You were seeing an email a little while ago, and to the broader community. Do you know how many votes we got in all together?
It was about 150.
Yeah? Excellent. Okay, and the vote is going to, sorry, the award's going to be presented by Chief Scientist Professor Klingon. So, just not sure. So, would you like to come up and say a few words?
All right, well, I'm the token old fart here by the looks of things. Greg, you're almost as old as me. Look, it's a great pleasure to be here tonight, and thank you for the invitation, Peter. Peter and I actually go back a long way, when we were younger, and I've just been so impressed by this evening. I think it's just, it's great. The energy in the room is fantastic. I think there's a real energy around the whole startup innovation sector in WA at the moment, and can you feel a lift around the country over the last 2 months? can you feel the change in the atmosphere? The dynamics has just been phenomenal. I don't recall ever in my 62 years on this little planet seeing such a dramatic change in the political landscape. I think having the new Prime Minister has been very, very important for us, absolutely critical for this nation to go forward, and now we can really celebrate the beauty and the importance of innovation for this country. It is absolutely essential to this nation going forward. So you guys are right in the engine room of all of this, and I strongly commend you for what you're doing and really encourage you to keep at it. So as the old fat, what am I doing?
Well, I should acknowledge sponsor for this category of the awards.
Would like to thank Charlie. Well done. Good stuff.
A physical prize, brilliant. And rather than opening the envelope, if you were to turn the bit of paper over, it will have a name on it from the nominees, which
and the winner is... oh, Jesus. The winner is Greg Reeby. Congratulations.
I couldn't get my color printer working properly, so congratulations. You're the name of the prize as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Greg. Okay. We've already heard of, yes. Startup ranking number 7, which is going to hit the internet tonight. Here is our top 10. You'll be able to go to Techboard later, and I'm not sure exactly what time that'll be going live, but it'll be sometime before you go to work tomorrow morning. And so off the back of the 7 rankings, including the one today, we've basically got 2 awards, one for the highest trending startup award, which is kindly sponsored by Eve Investments. No, it's not the paper. That's not the paper. That's the paper. I'm glad I used thick enough paper that you can't actually see through. So Ben Raw from Eve Investments, if you'd like to come and make the presentation. We have our top 3 contenders in no particular order, who've all performed consistently over the period. Pin Payments, off the back of their excellent fundraising. Pay Tradies being the most consistently high-ranked startup. I think they've been in more rankings than any other, well, in the top 20. And Off-Peak Games has performed very well as well. So if Ben would like to do the honours.
The winner is Techboard. Pay Trading.
We do have a check. I'll just go in and edit and put the right name in. Brendan Ross from Pay Trading. Congratulations. Okay. And yeah, so it was a cash prize of $1,000. Thanks from Eve Investments. And I'll give you a certificate as well. I will be printing nicer ones, so you can print one on your wall if you would like. Okay, the final award for the night is the highest trending listed tech company, which is one of those 3 companies there who've all done very well in the ranking. ResApp Health topped our very first ranking that we ran. Norwood topped last week's, and both times we heard mention of Hot Copper before. Both times we got a big rush of hits on Techboard from people from Hot Copper looking at ResApp and Norwood, who were both very hotly discussed on Hot Copper. And we had our biggest day ever for our last ranking where Norwood topped it, including hits from German stock forums. Arrive.der was one of them. But so Chris Saka from PwC is going to present the final award for tonight before we hand it back over to the networking. Oh, you don't have to tear it.
Okay, Norwood Systems.
Thank you, everybody, who have somehow contributed to this year. We're delighted. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much.
And I'd also like to thank our panel of experts who really make a big contribution to running the ranking system, and they also provided us with the shortlist for the community award. So you will see quite a few faces up here. Miles Burke, I should have mentioned, was meant to be on the panel, but unfortunately was involved in an accident last night, so he's currently recuperating. He's mostly okay, I'm told. Cheryl's here, Robert's here, Jeff, Greg, of course, Chris himself, Charlie, Peter was meant to be coming, I haven't seen him, and Brian, of course, and Marcus. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to the people who couldn't make it as well. And yeah. And thank you again to our sponsors. And that's how you can get in touch with us, and go to Techboard for the ranking. It'll be out sometime tonight and published in Startup News tomorrow. Thank you, Marcus. Great distribution source for us. And that's the end of the formal part of the evening. Excellent.